It's January the 15th, 2019. I'm David Griffin, and I'm here at Ticknall Cricket Club, and I'm talking with
Paul Borrington
and
Andy Butler.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, part of our Oral Heritage project. If I could just start with you, Paul, what was your, I know you're a very well-known league cricketer and you've played county cricket, but what was your introduction to the game of cricket and when?
As long as I can remember, really, just having a cricketing family, particularly my father. So yeah, from as long as I could walk, really, I can picture him throwing balls at me and smashing balls around the garden. I've just sort of born and grew up with cricket all around me, really.
And your father, of course, Tony Borrington, who played for Derbyshire throughout the 1970s. So when did you actually start playing cricket in a formal environment? Would that have been a school?
I didn't play much at school, at junior school or secondary school. I first played cricket at Quarndon because that's where Dad was playing at the time when I was growing up, when I was probably 8, 9, 10,
So
11.
what year would
That would have been 97, 98, 99, those years. Just because Dad was playing at Quarndon, I used to spend a lot of time down there watching him and sort of playing at the side with all the other kids. So I first played junior cricket at Quarndon as a 10, 11-year-old.
There's some good players at Quarndon at that time, I would imagine.
Yeah, lots of good players, yeah. Obviously being around the Hollis family quite a lot, who are really well-known Quarndon family. I grew up with their kids. Dad obviously played with Steve in Quarndon's team. So yeah, a lot of good kids to be around and grow up playing cricket with.
Yeah. We'll come back to where your cricket journey took you in a moment. But Andy, when and where was your introduction to the game?
Mine was at a young age as well, playing backyard cricket with my dad and my brother. And then we had my dad had a restaurant in Swadlincote, and at the time Swadlincote ran a cricket team, so he used to send me down there. And then the lads at Iron Coop at the time picked me up to go down there. Ray and Mick McGuinness took me down there. Then they later became Belvedere Park. And then I was at some representative stuff, and Rob Dummelo asked me to come to Ticknall. So that's how.
And when would that have been?
That would have been about 20 years ago now. So,
Right.
So yes, getting on for a long time.
And where was that your first formal cricket, or did you play any cricket at school?
We didn't have cricket at our school,
Right.
no. So I was at Willie Mallet Comprehensive School. We didn't have a cricket team.
So it's interesting because we talked to players of the generation before you two, and their formative cricket was at school. But by the time you were playing formal cricket, it had gone the other way, and schools weren't playing as much cricket, and it was the clubs that had taken on the mantle of looking after young cricketers. So I'll go back to you, Paul, and you've played your junior cricket at Quarndon. What was the next step for you, sort of, as you moved? You're in your teens at this point, presumably?
Yeah, I think the first year I played for Ticknall was when I was 12, so I played in Ticknall's under-13 team then. I think at that point Dad had finished playing at Quarndon. He was getting on a bit by then, and I grew up in Melbourne, so it was a local strong club to come and play for at Ticknall. And then I played all the way through the junior sections, often with Dad coaching and managing junior teams.
Was it cricket for fun, or was it cricket with an eye on it makes it perhaps easy now to say, I always wanted to play county cricket or whatever, but were you ambitious about your cricket at that very young age?
I'm not sure you think about it like that, to be honest, at that age. I think it's just about enjoying it, and I absolutely loved playing as a kid and being a part of it, and that's why I wanted to keep doing it and keep playing. I was lucky enough to be in the Derbyshire set-up from a young age, so I had that sort of development factor as a part of it, but that wasn't the reason for keeping going. The reason that I pursued it and kept cracking on with it was just because of how much I enjoyed it.
And what were you batsman, bowler, Andy? What were you?
As a batsman.
Right, so you were playing in which team at Ticknall?
I came here and I started in the under-15s
Yep.
and second team, playing with the likes of Tom Magson, who's a big cricket club player here, and Ryan Cowley and Matt and Murray Hunter at the time were playing.
And was this midweek cricket at age group?
Age group was midweek, and then the Saturdays were
Right.
in the second team, and then building up to playing the first team.
So which division were the second team playing in at that time?
I think that would be about 5, wasn't it, guys? Division
Right.
5, Division 6, and then we've worked up to Division 3 now in the second. So.
And were you an ambitious cricketer yourself? And I say this, but you want to play first team cricket.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason I came here, to come in and play in the Derbyshire League and play as high up in the Derbyshire League as I possibly could. So and then to come here. And then at the time we just Graham Chamberlain had just signed us, and as John alerted to earlier, we were just signing overseas players, and to play with Graham at the time, Rob Dumelow and Zach Lucas, who's a stalwart of the club and must be the leading wicket taker over time, was just quite inspiring at the time.
And you've obviously played in an era where there were a lot of professionalism had come into the game, so you must have played against some challenging cricketers in your time, some good bowlers, playing for at a good standard. Who were the standout players that you remember?
People like Simon Moore at Clifton, Devon Malcolm was playing for Dunstall, I think, at the time, and people like that.
What was that like, facing Devon?
Tricky, yeah.
Was it?
yeah. So.
Did he get you out?
He didn't, to be fair. No, he didn't. No.
I hear varying stories of Devon's performances in league cricket. Sometimes he demolished sides, and others they tell me he went round the park, which is kind of what he did in first class cricket. Paul, did having the same surname as someone who played for Derbyshire make a difference to the opposition for you? Were people trying to show this young upstart the way to go, or did it make no difference at all?
I don't know really, probably have to ask them, but it certainly didn't really affect the way I was going about things. To me it was just my dad, and he threw balls at me when I wanted him to, and we grew up with cricket around the family and all about us, so it wasn't something I was ever aware of or was conscious of. No.
So how did that, you said that you were on the Derbyshire step ladder, as it were, or ladder, so how did that come about? What was the process that introduced you to Derbyshire and the age group and the academy, etc.?
I just went to the trial as a 11-year-old, Derbyshire under 11s trial, and got in, and then played all the way through the age groups, and I was part of the first ever academy. I was lucky with my age, really, that at the time the academy was formed, I was the age when I was in it. So I look back with great pride, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that, really.
And who were the influences at that point? You've obviously mentioned your dad, but who were the other influences in the game at that time?
Carl Cricken was head of ran the academy, the first academy, so he was a really, really big influence on my career. Spent a lot of time with him. I remember him picking me up from school and things to take me to academy sessions, so a lot of time spent around him. Everyone around Ticknall, there's too many people to go through, but the guys who've already spoken, and people around the club obviously made it such a positive environment to be a part of, whereby I enjoyed every second of being here. And
presumably that step up to county cricket was a big one. I would imagine every step up in cricket is but did you, I think it was Surrey, was it Surrey you debuted?
It was at Leicester.
Oh, Leicester, yes. What was that like when you got the call or the tap on the shoulder?
I think when you're that age, you don't really give it too much thought. You just sort of get on with trying to play the game that's in front of you, and you're just trying to do as well as you possibly can. So it's probably looking back now, I look at it and think, it was to be playing at that age in such a big game was amazing, really. But at the time, I think you're just trying to get on with what's in front of you.
And what kind of characters did you find in the Derbyshire dressing room at the time when you made your debut?
There was some big characters, yeah. I was lucky that there was a few other younger lads, probably because of the formation of the academy, whereby it was the start of an era where the county were really trying to push younger players, which I was lucky to be a part of a group of people who grew up and played for Derbyshire together, really.
Yeah. So Dan Redfern, Ross Whiteley, Tom Point, and people like that. Yeah. Interesting that there was a move, almost like when your dad played, that there was that drive to try and get Derbyshire-born players into the Derbyshire setup, and it was probably the first time since the 70s that Derbyshire had actually done that, and of course it paid off in 2012, didn't it? We'll come back to that in a second. So your cricket, Andy, you were playing first team cricket for the majority of your career?
Half and half, I'd say. Half
right.
First team, half second team.
And so there was this establishment. Were you playing in the first team when they got into the Premier League?
Yeah, that first time we won the Premier League, when we went up, I was in the first team that year under Graham Chamberlain, and as John alerted to you earlier, we had an outstanding overseas in Rizwan, who not far off bowlers there, to be fair. He's outstanding.
What was I mean, do you know what how do you get somebody like Rizwan? You said what such a good player he was. And I think John mentioned in the interview we did with him that sometimes it was pot luck, but presumably somebody, what do they do? How do they identify an overseas player like that?
It was pot luck.
Oh,
it
really?
just happened to be for an agency that I think we knew from Shahid Khan that plays locally as well.
Yeah.
He'd sort of semi-recommended him to us, but he was still in early 20s, I think he was, 21, 22 when he came over. So
And was he here just for 1 year?
He just did 1 year with us, yeah.
Right. Were you not able to? Was he just not able to come back for?
It was, as John alerted to, coaching, because we went up to the Premier League minimum of level 2.
Yes, he did mention.
And unfortunately, we couldn't have him again. And then we had Tanvir Ahmed, who went on to play international cricket for Pakistan. So
some good standard players. But must. I mean, obviously, we're going to come on to your role with development cricket, but that must have an impact on players that are around when you bring that quality of.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you'd like to look up to him. And then as Paul was just getting onto the staff, and then as you alerted to just before we started, Dave Houghton brought the draft in, and we had Jonathan Clare, and to have people like that around was quite inspiring for everyone. As we were a young team going up then, it was good to be around people like that.
Yeah. Going back to your Derbyshire career, if I may, 2012 was probably the highlight for you. It was a highlight for me because we beat Essex at Chelmsford for the first time since 1935, and because you and Martin Guptill were at the crease when we beat him in 3 days by 10 wickets, and I always look back at that. It was played in glorious sunshine. I'm sure you remember that game. What was it like to be in opening the batting with a batsman as destructive as Martin Guptill?
Yeah, it was amazing to be the age I was, stood opposite somebody of his stature in terms of his reputation and how tall he was as well. But I remember I think we played Northants in one of the first games early in the season, and about 3 overs in, he just hit Chaminda Vass out the ground. Yeah, and I was just stood the other end trying to leave a few and get him behind a couple, and he just whacked him out the ground and sort of walked. Good shot, Martin. Yeah.
It must have been fun to be part of a team that won something, because Derbyshire have not got a great record of trophy wins, only ever won 4 trophies before that one, so it must have been proud for you to be a part of that.
Yeah, amazing. It's the dream, really, I guess. I spent so much time loving being down there, watching Derbyshire as a kid, and I loved every second sort of playing on the outfield after games, and to have the opportunity to play one game for Derbyshire was amazing. Never mind as many as I did, and to win a league was the ultimate dream.
And at Ticknall, others have already said that you've broken records, and it goes without saying that your record, and I know you're a modest young man, but you know your record it speaks for itself. But what does motivate you? Is it just simply going out there scoring runs for Ticknall? Is that the motivation to be as good as you can be? How do you keep going season after season, breaking records, high average, loads of centuries? What's the secret?
I'm not sure there's that much thought goes into it, really. Just try and get as many runs as I possibly can. Try and make as a bigger difference, to try and win as many games as I can for the club that I've always played at and love playing for. So it's nothing more than that, really. Just trying to make as much of a difference as I can to our side.
So it was modest. Andy, you've got a role at the club now, a specific role. I'd perhaps like just to explain what you do, because you're the vice chairman, and you also have a role with development side of the game.
Yeah, so we took a decision as a club not so long ago that we were going to push at the bottom end of the club, whereas all other clubs will be saying at the moment it's really hard to get people playing, it's really hard to get people to engage. So we've took the decision to really drive hard at the bottom of the club, along with Howard Dytham, the cricket manager. We're really trying to instill into our juniors that playing cricket and getting more enjoyment out of the game now, and we've took the decision as a club now that all our junior cricket will be played in coloured clothing to try and just, like as I say, engage with the kids and get them to engage in the game to really enjoy it. So we're really trying to drive that from the bottom, and Paul as well, we're trying to really push it forward.
And in terms of the vice chairmanship, we talked earlier to the current chairman, who can't even remember whether it's 45 or 50 years that he's been chairman. But presumably you're a chairman in waiting, are you? Is that
I don't know about that. There's some shoes to fill there, that's for sure. But I'm sure in the future we'll have to talk about that. But at the moment, John's doing a great job, and long may it continue, really. So.
Is there a challenge because we talked about young people? You know, schools don't play cricket. Certainly, most state schools don't play cricket, and the clubs have taken over that mantle of developing young cricketers. Is that a challenge? You know, you're a rural club in a little village, and yet you still manage to produce cricketers. How much of a challenge is it?
We're lucky in the sense that we have Repton and Formmark on our doorstep, so we pull a lot of players from there. But we just seem to attract players. I think it is through the quality of the coaching we try to provide and how we promote ourselves that we seem to appeal to a wider base, and we seem to be able to pull people in.
And are you able to work with your cricketers, the young ones, during the winter as well? Do you have your winter?
Yeah, we only started last week.
Right.
They're on a 10-week programme, again, just to try and get them enjoying cricket.
And what does your development role actually entail?
It is what it says, really. It's trying to pull the whole club together, whether that be through tea ladies and Paul playing in the first team or somebody starting out in the quick cricket team. It's to make it sure that we're united as one club instead of just the first team being the pinnacle and the quicks are down there. It's all about it being Ticknall Cricket Club.
And 2018 was a particularly successful year for Ticknall. We're sitting here with the proud champions. You're both laughing about it. I don't know why you're not proud to have the Premier League trophy sitting there on the table. But you also won the
Derbyshire Cup.
Derbyshire Cup and
the Dunstan Knockout Cup.
Right, so immensely proud for as a club to be winning these trophies. What was the secret? I know it's easy to say you won more games, but I mean, what is the secret?
Yeah, it's a season that you only dream of, really, to win the trophies like that. I think to have a side that was so together, it's amazing how far fight and spirit and the odd bit of luck can take you, really. But I think the closeness we've had in the first team and that's reflected throughout the club has been a really, really big part in us being so successful this year.
It's really interesting that, because I think the thing that's come across through all the interviews we've done, you've just alluded to it yourself, Andy, about tea ladies and the first team. Everybody's got their role to play. It sounds a bit cliched and a bit cheesy, but actually it is clearly working for Ticknall. So 2019, you do it again, Paul? Andy?
I hope so. I think we'd like to carry on, that's for sure. I mean, I think Paul didn't allude to it there, but having Paul at the top there and having him to aspire to and all the young lads to be able to talk to Paul is fantastic. So I mean, I think if that can keep continuing, then I'm sure we're going to keep going in the right direction.
I know you still play, Andy.
With work, unfortunately, I can't play as much, but yeah, I do still play half a dozen games a year.
Yeah.
So.
And Paul, I presume you're still young and trim. Presumably you've got another. You'll be doing a John Goodwin, but not in the chair, but in the vaccine. You'll be playing for 40 years, won't you?
I don't know about that. 1 year at a time and all that, I think.
Well, gentlemen, the one thing that's come through is this togetherness about Ticknall and clearly the commitment and devotion that you've got to the club. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us.